Hello, 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 hello. It is Wednesday. Wednesday, another day, another stream. Welcome back. Scally blocks. I think Remesh is best. We'll see, okay? Don't spoil the topic again. Yeah. Another day, another stream. And today we want to answer a very, I guess, hot topic right now. At least it seems that way. When it comes to questions I've gotten. And I had the question myself. And which means today we're gonna do an experiment, okay? The question is remeshing better than dynamic topology or Dyntopo? Welcome back, God Stefan. Hope you enjoyed your Wednesday too. Welcome back. So you can either choose between remeshing or dynamic topology for your sculpts, and some people like remeshing more, some people like dynamic topology more. I, for example, use dynamic topology quite a lot. So, you know, that's my experience so far. I haven't used remeshing that much. I sort of know, I guess, how you can use it, but yeah, I haven't really used it that much. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna create the same sculpt twice, once with dynamic topology, or once with remeshing, and we're gonna see which one, which workflow works well. Of course, one thing maybe to keep in mind is that the I guess you could say, because I've sculpted with dynamic topology for such a long time, maybe my workflow might be like optimized for dynamic topology. Maybe you need to work a little bit different in remeshing, but I think still with kind of with this experiment, we can sort of see, or I can sort of, I guess, gauge whether or not maybe you need a different workflow, or you can, it's sort of the same, just with a slightly different way to add more geometry. We'll see. Welcome back, Kutu. Hope you had a great day too. Yeah, so we're gonna do an experiment and see which one is better, or which one works better, which one maybe both have the same, or both have maybe both have their own qualities, and you can choose between them. We'll see. Okay. I also want to do a small topic today before we begin with the, I guess, experiment. So before we begin with the sculpting and all that, there are two things that I want to do. First of all, I need to grab I need to go to Pinterest and find what we're gonna sculpt, and then we're gonna go to, I'm gonna show you, in my opinion, the best way to sculpt if your PC is basically, well, with any PC, how to sculpt if you have like a super low performing PC. If your PC is super slow, sculpting is always super laggy for you, or super slow, maybe your PC even crashes. I want to show you my approach, or my way, how you can still sculpt. Nobody needs to not sculpt. Okay, nobody should be excluded. So I'm going to show you a way to sculpt, even though maybe you have a slow PC. But let's go into Pinterest first, because we need to find what we're going to sculpt. I think I already have an idea. I think the best way to find something pretty quickly would be to go to here and go through these boards. I think I want to go with a character. Faces is not what I wanted. I need concept art characters. My good old list. I think we're going to find something that is not too hard. I think the plan will be to do each sculpt, one with dynamic topology and one with remeshing. There you go. We're going to do one with dynamic topology and one with remeshing, and each one of them I think I want to give like an hour. I think that's a good time to finish like a bust, for example. And let's see what kind of let's do a hippo. I don't know about that. We've already done a hippo, okay? We don't need to do another one. I think one that I liked a lot was this one. It might be a little bit too elaborate for like if just like a sculpt, a 1 hour sculpt. It could be just enough, or it could just fit in. Just it could just fit in. That's what I wanted to say. We could go through a few more here. Yeah, usually for these quick sketches, fantasy animals, we could do that too. Usually when I did these quick sketches on the weekend, I usually took like an hour rather than 30 minutes, which is when I usually uploaded or created characters. And so I know that an hour is pretty, enough for a character. It just can't be too elaborate, I guess. So stuff like this is fairly simple. Maybe even this, because the clothing isn't super big and super broad and super I guess what do you call it, like elaborate, sophisticated, detailed. Welcome back, or welcome Cylindu. Hope you enjoyed your Wednesday too. So I have this one here. Let's see if there's another character. We can maybe go. We can select 2 characters, select 2 animals or creatures, and then we can choose between them. How about that? I think that could be a good way to decide which one we're gonna do. Yeah, an old man, maybe an old wizard could be interesting too because of the beard. Or him, like an elven whatever warrior. I kind of like this. So we have these 2. Or let's go to creatures. I have another creature board. There you go. I don't have that many here, but we can also go to more ideas to find more. So like this super SCP-96. Hold on, let's see. SCP-096. Maybe that's too simple. Because it's yeah, I think this we don't need that much time for it. Or yeah, I think that would be done quicker than an hour. I think we need something that with a little bit more detail. Let's see. Or say dragon could be something we could do. Or here are more characters, maybe even more like humanoid characters like these ones. For these goblins. For these, I guess, or also characters. Let's go to some more ideas. Let's see what we can find here. Some demons. Oh, look at this one. Or a mushroom dude. But these ones also always look really cool. It's always the same artist, I think, that makes these. Like these animal combinations. Let me see if I'm right. Red one with the multiple heads. Hold on. Yeah, it's always him. Goma Lee. I already did some of his pieces as quick sketches. Goblin with drip. Hold on, somebody. Wait, you said the red one with multiple heads. Was it or here? Somewhere in here? Maybe not. Maybe it was in here. Wait, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. Oh no, I lost it. Let's go back in there. This one looks pretty interesting. A little pig devil shaman. Or more like a demon here. I think I want to go with something more fantasy-like rather than, like a standard, I don't know, animal. This one looks pretty cool, actually. I like this one. The sort of concept. So maybe this one. I'm gonna keep this one. Let's see if we can find one more. Of course, we can also look for something else rather than just go through these ideas. Like, let's just go for fantasy animal, okay? And see what we can find. I think I googled this quite a lot before, but you know, you never know. Maybe you'll find something cool. Wait, oh, I'm in my pins. Hold on. There you go. Fantasy animal. Okay, this one. Looking for something that looks somewhat elaborate, but not too complex. It's kind of a hard task, but I think we can find something. Maybe a dragon might be actually pretty good because you have different parts, maybe like horns, and you have scales that you can maybe even add, or fur, of course, could also work. If we're doing like an animal, for example, I don't think we're gonna do the whole body, although it might be possible in an hour. I haven't done that many animals, like a full body animal. This one looks actually pretty cool. So I think what I want to do more is I want to spend more time detailing the sculpt rather than trying to finish the sculpt, I guess, main shapes of the sculpt in an hour. So I think I would do only like the head and maybe like the shoulders and neck, rather than the whole body, because then I can sort of experiment more with how you would detail in both, I guess, in both ways. I think that's something that I would rather do. I think you can go a little bit deeper if you do that. We can experiment a little bit more. This one looks pretty cool, I think. And this one I think is pretty cool. I think we're gonna stick with these. Welcome back, Hustler. Hope you had a great day too. Let's go through a few more and see if there's anything better than the ones that we have, and if not, then we have our picks. Cancel artwork concept. I think we have a pretty good selection. I think I'm gonna stick with these. Welcome, Kevin. Okay, yeah, I think we're gonna stick with these. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, going through it again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yet now, if you want, you can vote. Okay, vote which one it should be. We can maybe put them aside here next to each other. Here's 1. There you go. Here's 2. Then we have 3. And we have 4. There you go. Which one should it be? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Sounds simple. Yeah, I think we have our picks. If you're not gonna choose, then I'm gonna choose 4. Okay. We have 1 for 4, 1 for 4. Are there more votes? Maybe Hustler is the only one. He can decide which one we're gonna do. So right now it's this handsome elfin, I don't know, knight. 2. Okay, we have 2 and 4. Kind of broaden the, I guess, selection. If there are more than, or if there are, you know, I guess, only these 2, and they have the same amount of votes, then I guess you have to, I have to choose myself. Right now we have these 2. Yeah, let's go for like maybe a minute or so more. 2, okay. 2, 2, 2. Oh no, more. Okay. Welcome, Warlock, and welcome, Emily. I still can't decide which one I should say. Okay, 2 seems to be the winner. Hustler, you lost. Let's choose 2, okay? This one's the winner. Okay, perfect. Get rid of these. Let's grab this one, and then we can, yeah, get into it. Where's my... There it is. I need a new file. Here you can see the final render from yesterday's, you know, what is it? Like we've done a quick sketch. This one was the last quick sketch, and we worked on it a little bit more yesterday. And yeah, yesterday, I had to redo the skin because Blender decided to delete it. It's not perfect, but I think it's pretty. It's enough. So there you go. I delay victory. Okay, interesting. I'll see. Well, I'm interested to see how you're gonna bring this back. Okay, let's make a new one here. Let's call this Remesh versus Dyntopo. Okay. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay. The subject has been chosen. It is this one. Look at him. Beautiful, beautiful blue tiger with these nice glowing antlers. Okay. Here looks like cake. Okay. Let's get to Blender. So before we go into it, I want to do one more thing. I want to answer a question, or I had a question before in the Discord that I wanted to, I guess, make a video about, a quick video, shouldn't take too long. And that is basically how you can sculpt in Blender without a good PC. Okay, so how can you sculpt in Blender with a slow PC? Maybe you realize, well, if I try sculpting in Blender, for example, maybe with dynamic topology, maybe even without it, you realize, well, everything lags, maybe even your PC might even crash, you know, maybe your PC is too slow, it takes a long time, and maybe it's lagging. If you have these problems, this might be for you, okay? This tip, or the way, I might be able to show you a way how you can still sculpt in Blender, basically. So one question you need to answer yourself one question you need to answer first. The question that I have for you is, if you go to sculpting, so you probably have your sculpting tab up here. If you go into the sculpting tab, or if you don't have it, you can also select the object and then go to sculpt mode in here. So if you're in sculpt mode and you just use any brush, whether it's the clay strips brush, maybe even the you know, the standard sculpt draw brush. If you draw like this, or if you sculpt like this, without dynamic topology enabled, like down here, without dynamic topology enabled, is it lagging or is it not lagging? If it's not lagging, then I have a solution for you that hopefully works, okay? For one person, it has worked, and I think it should work for you too, okay? If you can sculpt, if it's not lagging like this, or not lagging to like an extreme amount, so that you can still sculpt, you know, that it's not too hard, you know, to sculpt. If that's not the case, then I have a solution for you, and the solution is, well, dynamic topology, but not in the way that you probably usually or have used it, or the way that I guess most people think of dynamic topology. So the concept behind, or the idea behind, the reason behind why dynamic topology, for example, lags for slower PCs, or if you have a high resolution, is because dynamic topology is basically like subdivisions where your brush, basically where you apply the brush. So if you go into X-ray mode, you can see this one. This is the sphere, you know? This is the geometry of the sphere. Here we have the sphere. And if we now enable dynamic topology and we use the brush basically, as it says here, it subdivides or collapses the geometry to apply the resolution that you've defined first here. If you have it on constant detail, you can define the resolution. If you have it on relative detail, you can define a detail size. Basically, relative detail means the closer you are to the mesh, the more resolution your brush, I guess, has or applies to the geometry. I like to use constant detail, and for this technique, you should probably also use constant detail. So now, if you enable dynamic topology, we're not going to just use it, because what happens if you just use it is it applies the geometry to the scope to the geometry, it collapses it or subdivides it. Basically, if the resolution is higher than the current resolution on the surface, then it, subdivides it and, adds more geometry. And if it's smaller, then it's gonna collapse it and make the geometry bigger. That can be quite intense for your PC. Not necessarily the subdivision in itself, but more the subdivision in addition to moving the geometry at the same time. I guess, faster way to use, or I guess more performance-friendly way to use dynamic topology would be to basically apply the resolution first, then you can deactivate dynamic topology again, and then you can change the geometry. Why wouldn't you use Remesh? Basically, the question could be, why wouldn't you use Remesh instead of dynamic topology? The benefit of using dynamic topology is if you have a lot of geometry, it can very quickly lag your viewport. It can happen for me, for example, if I have a lot of geometry in scope mode, it can happen that it sort of, lags a little bit. If you have a, I guess, slower PC, for example, I think that can happen quite fast. But if you then deactivate dynamic topology, or to avoid to have so much geometry, we can use dynamic topology to basically apply more geometry in specific areas. So you could have one area that has like this amount of resolution, then maybe you want to add more detail to this area here, so you apply more resolution here. Maybe you want to have even more resolution in the middle of this, new circle that we've created. So we set this to 50, we want to have 50 resolution, and then we have this little spot here that has 50 resolution. If you want to have this amount of resolution just to kind of add in this little spot more geometry or more detail, you would, if you want to use Remesh for that, you would basically set it to, I guess, hold on. You would set it to 0.095 whatever meters of voxel size, and then you would hit Remesh. The problem is Remesh basically remeshes the entire model, so you would have this amount of resolution over the entire model. But we only really need it in this spot, or you probably only need it in a few areas where to add more detail in these areas. You probably don't need your whole sculpt to be this dense. This is where dynamic topology has an advantage, especially for PCs that are a little bit slower. So the concept now that you would basically do is you would go ahead and let's open a file. Let's just go into 348. So if you now open a file like this one here, and we have a sculpt, there you go. Oh, infamous sculpt. If you now go in here and we go into sculpting, let's actually go to, let's go to the face. There you go. So if you now go to her face, for example, and we want to add more resolution to, I don't know, we want to give her wrinkles, for example. Right now the resolution looks something like this. And what you can now do to give this more resolution, or to work, if you have a slower PC, the way you would work now is basically you would go to dynamic topology settings, you would enable dynamic topology, then you set it to constant detail, subdivide collapse, and then you set the resolution that you want to scope with. Let's say, of course, if you would start with a sphere, you can do the same. If you want, if you start with a sphere, you would do it the same. So we could say, hey, let's go with, what is this right now? We can use the pipette to find out. 52, so let's set this to 100 again. We want to have more resolution here on the forehead. So what we can do now is we can select the simplify brush. The simplify brush is basically, is underneath the cloth brush. The simplify brush basically applies the resolution that you set in the dynamic topology settings. It applies that to the geometry or to the surface without deforming the volume, basically. So this now you can use to, I guess, you can apply this brush now to really only add more geometry to areas where you need it, like this area here. There you go. And then once you've applied more geometry to the area where you want to add more detail, you can go back to the dynamic topology, deactivate it, and then because you've deactivated dynamic topology, it's not trying to subdivide anything anymore, so it should run smoother. So now if you of course go back to the standard sculpting brushes like the crease brush, for example, here, and if we try to sculpt, it should run very, very smooth. I even use that sometimes to create or to sculpt a little bit smoother. For example, if I want to have a very detailed sculpt, I like to do that. And this way you can go quite high with, or you can go higher with your resolution on your sculpt, or you can add more detail to your sculpt, even with a low performing PC. I can show you the way I would do it for when you basically start with a sphere too. Let's start with a sphere so I can show you how you can start there. So you have your sphere here. I guess you could remove this. Let's use a UV sphere, for example, and then we can go into sculpting. If you want to use it, if you start with a UV sphere, for example, one problem is that it always gives you errors if you enable dynamic topology. So the best way, or one way to kind of remove this error message is you can once go to remeshing, and then you would hit remesh, just so that this gets remeshed and there's no sort of object data anymore that can mess up dynamic topology. And then you can enable dynamic topology. I like to start with 20 resolution because that is still quite big. And then you can use your simplify brush. You apply the simplify brush. You don't really see much. You can press Shift Z to switch to the X-ray view to see the geometry. And then you can press Alt Z to remove the I guess X-ray mode. Or Shift Z brings you to wireframe view, and Alt Z removes X-ray vision, so you can see what the geometry looks like. And you can check that you actually apply the geometry to the right I guess position, for example. So if you want to say, hey, I want to create like a horn, for example, here on this sphere, you know, I want to create a character on this, or I want to create a sphere, and this sphere is supposed to have a horn. You apply the new geometry here, this new resolution, then you deactivate this again. You can press Shift Z again to get out of this, and then you can use, I like to use the snake brush, for example, for horns. We go in here, we drag it out. You can see we kind of stretch the faces, but that's not too bad. If you see, oh, this face gets stretched quite far. You can see if we press Shift Z again, you can see they get stretched quite a lot because we have not dynamic topology is not enabled anymore. If it would be enabled, it would subdivide the mesh over and over and over again to keep the resolution the same on this horn, basically. But we've deactivated it, so what we need to do now to get more resolution again is we can go back into the dynamic topology settings. We enable it again, and we select the simplify brush again, apply it again, and then we have more resolution in this area. We only have resolution more in this area, which is of course the benefit of having dynamic topology. You don't, I guess, bog down your PC by having way more resolution over here where we don't need it. We don't want to have a horn down here. We only really want to have a horn here. So we only really apply more resolution here. Maybe we want to make this very, very detailed, you know? Maybe we just want to have like a small ridge going down in this area here, like a small edge, for example. What we can do now is we can, you know, go back into dynamic topology. We can set it to 50 resolution. We make it quite small, and then we want to say here is where I want to have my edge, for example. We draw it down all the way to here, and then we can use a brush like the, let's use the crease brush again, make it quite strong, and then we can make a little bit of like a nice detailed edge here, where we added more detail to, or more resolution to this. One thing to keep in mind, I actually forgot about it, before you draw with any brushes again, because that would lag your PC, probably, you need to deactivate dynamic topology again. So the loop would probably be apply geometry where you need it, or more geometry where you need it, then deactivate dynamic topology, sculpt, continue sculpting. Then when you need more geometry again, when, for example, the face is stretched a lot, you can enable dynamic topology again. You can maybe even keep the resolution if it's still enough. You then select the simplify brush again, you apply the simplify brush here, and you deactivate dynamic topology again, and then you can continue sculpting again. I think this is the best way to sculpt without or with the best performance. And even I use it sometimes to make like super detailed sculpts. So yeah, it helped for one person. Hopefully it can be helpful for more than just one. And if there are more ways to increase the performance when it comes to sculpting, then I'm always open to more. Maybe there's another way to optimize this. But you know, this is the best way that I know so far. Just buy a PC. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't the high resolution area look out of place? Well, you can decide between being able to sculpt and some areas looking out of place or not being able to sculpt at all, I guess. Yeah, you know, I guess that's sort of, you know, the two options that you have then. If, you know, we had one person in the Discord that asked like, hey, I don't remember, I don't know if I can find it. Let's see. I think it was in questions. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Can I find it? I don't think so. It's been too long. Yeah, they basically asked like, hey, you know, it's every time I try to sculpt, it lags and maybe even crashes. So is there some sort of way to improve the performance, for example? I think this is the best way to do it. And still, you know, being able to add, you know, a lot of detail to your sculpt. Welcome back, memes. Hope you enjoyed your Wednesday. There were a few people. Let me just quickly go here, and then we can begin. Okay. I want to do each sculpt an hour long, so we need, you know, at least 2 hours for this. Of course, with a conclusion at the end. First of all, thank you, Simon36922, for following you on Twitch. Hope you enjoyed your Wednesday. Welcome, Simon Wang. Maybe the same Simon. Who knows? Maybe it's just a coincidence. Thank you for subscribing on YouTube. And then a name I can't pronounce. And Warlockcraft. Thank you for subscribing on YouTube. Okay, I think we're ready to begin the tiger. We're going to begin with the dynamic topology sculpt. Because I think if I do the dynamic topology sculpt first, I can learn how I want to sculpt the character, and then like it's easier for me to use dynamic topology. My workflow is sort of set to be, or I use dynamic topology. I have used dynamic topology for a long time, so I'm used to using dynamic topology. So I don't have to put that much mental energy, I guess, into learning how to use it or kind of thinking about how to use it. So I can spend the time more on how I want to sculpt the character. And then if I do the second sculpt, I don't need to think about how I want to do the character anymore that much. I can focus more on remeshing. So that's why I want to do dynamic topology first, basically. Hopefully that made sense, okay? Okay. Let me grab my reference and then we can begin. There you go. There it is. Okay. Here's the reference once again. Pen in hand. Where's my... Oh, I need my timer. Hold on. Takes a while. There it is. An hour. There you go. Is it a good idea to start with a remesh with a high enough resolution for the overall object, then switch to the dynamic topology workflow? With a remesh with a high enough resolution? What do you mean with start with it? I start every sculpt by remeshing the sphere, but I don't think that's what you mean, right? You mean more starting with remeshing and then at some point transitioning to dynamic topology to sort of apply the same technique that I just talked about. I guess you could do that too. Yeah, I guess that would be another way, like a hybrid way. We're not here to cooperate, okay? We're here to battle. We're trying to battle the two techniques against each other, okay? So I think everything's ready. We can begin this first sculpt. An hour of sculpting to create this tiger, fantasy tiger. Remesh then to start. Yeah. I guess you could do that too. Okay. I don't even know what an hour looks like. Depends on how much you remesh. Yeah. Okay, yeah, let's begin. So this is the dynamic topology sculpt. Basically, you know, this is the first sculpt that I do. The other one, the remesh, we're gonna do afterwards. 1 hour sculpt. Dynamic topology enabled. Let's begin with 20. Okay, I'm ready. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Perfect. Let's begin. So, okay. I have sculpted a tiger before, so I know somewhat how I want to do it. I'm not an expert at it, but you know, I guess that's not the main problem today, maybe. Okay. Oh, maybe I should activate symmetry. There you go. Hold on, I got stalled. Pointless Gamer PG. Thank you for joining. Hope you enjoyed your Wednesday. I would say you're not pointless, okay? You're not a pointless gamer. You have value in this life. Even if it's just, you know, being here and chatting. Okay, let's get into it. The nose is quite big. Usually what I do is I try to nail the basic shape first. I like to actually use dynamic topology. Well, the benefit or the good thing about using dynamic topology is that you can basically, you don't need to worry about stretching geometry, which is very useful if you want to just kind of walk very freely. So for example, if I go in here and kind of push these vertices down, every time these faces get too big, you can see they subdivide automatically. That is probably the problem. That is the problem that you can have if your PC isn't that strong. You can probably think about, like, if you increase the subdivision level quite high or make it quite big, it can lag your PC quite a lot. So it's doing that on top of moving vertices around with your brush can get quite laggy. So yeah, that's one of the, that's the reason basically why the dynamic topology can get quite laggy, especially with more resolution. But right now I just like to, the principle that I usually follow is blocking everything or adding everything first and then refining the shape and whatnot. So, beginning with just kind of putting everything in that we need. So the nose, the mouth, maybe even the fur a little bit, to then at the end, or to then afterwards define the proportions a little bit more and stuff like that. I don't even really game anymore. Oh. Have you fully transitioned to 3D life? Or does something else occupy your mind these days? Dyntopo is also extremely satisfying when it doesn't lag. Yeah. I think I sort of use dynamic topology mainly, or have started using dynamic topology mainly because I learned about it before I really learned about remeshing. I really only thought more about remeshing this year, probably because people mentioned it. Like, hey, why don't you use remesh? And I was like, wait, what? What's remesh? Or why would you? And then it kind of brought me to, or it kind of got me thinking more about, like, why you could use it, for example. Why you would use it. So yeah, I never really used it before. Should probably change my name on Twitch. Pointless Blender user PG. Okay, so we have the mouth, we have the nose, we have the eyebrows, very important, and we have the eyes, of course. Let's add the rest. And one important thing for animals, usually what you can see, or one thing that sort of defines a lot of the structure of the face, is the cheekbone. You can see the cheekbone right here, for example. Right there. From my observation, probably almost all animals have that, just because the cheekbone is basically sort of the frame that holds the eye, and most animals have eyes, so they have at least some sort of bone that holds the eye in place. And it's it's one of those bones that can really define a face or an animal, for example, or like it can give something like a face or a head a lot of structure. So if you wonder sometimes, why does my animal or my tiger maybe even look kind of weird. Maybe it's because the cheekbone is missing. Learned about remesh in the course. I wish I knew it at the start. Extremely annoying when you have to turn it on every time after switching sculpt tab. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I usually don't switch sculpt tabs that often. But it's annoying sometimes. If you forget it. Just noticed, do you always sculpt using dynamic topology? I do. Well, yeah. Well, that might change today, you know? Who knows? That's what we're gonna try to that's the experiment today. Is dynamic topology better or is remeshing better? Maybe, you know, they have their own advantages. We'll see. Did I miss which is better, remesh or dynamic topology? We're in the process basically. We're doing the first sculpt. We're gonna, you know, we're doing 2 sculpts of the same animal. This one here, we're gonna do this. We have an hour for each, and at the end we're gonna decide. Do you already have a team? Are you team remesh or are you team dynamic topology? Dyntopo. It seems like a lot of people are on team remesh, but I will not. You know, I will not switch sides without having you know, good evidence that I should. Okay. So the head is starting to shape up. Let's add the ears. I like to create ears by using the mask brush. Just kind of masking out the ear somewhat like usually like an almond shape like this. Making sure it's in the right position, looks pretty good. And then I just invert it, grab my snake hook brush, and then because I don't need to remesh, I can just drag it out and it will always have enough geometry. Look at that. Ooh. Okay. I guess the way you would do it with remeshing would be you pull it out and during the pull out, you hit Control R maybe to remesh it over and over and over again maybe. Or you just wait until you're done with the pulling out and then you remesh it afterwards. Wait, why is no one talking about multi-res? Well, multi-res is a good alternative if you already have a mesh. Another way you can sculpt, which I have tried before, but I haven't really looked into it too much or haven't really done it too much, is basically creating the basic shapes of, you know, the character and then retopologizing it with like automatic retopology or I guess manually, and then using multi-resolution. I think multi-resolution is somewhat what you use in ZBrush, where you like start with, I guess, somewhat like dynamic topology, and then you remesh it with the, you know, like the remeshing or the retopo tools in ZBrush, and then you continue with multi-resolution afterwards. I think that's what you do in ZBrush from, you know, different workflows that I've seen. I think if you can use multi-resolution might be the best way. Although you also again run into the problem of subdividing the whole body, even though you might just want to have more detail in the face, which is one problem I ran into before. And I didn't really... Well, the way I solved it was basically by separating the head from the body. But, you know, that's not the best solution, I guess. Or, you know, I would like it to stay together. But it, you know, it just didn't work. It actually crashed Blender for me when I tried it. Keeping it together. Kangaroo? True. Now it's a kangaroo. True, it looks like a kangaroo. The way to show vertices on top always while doing a retopo. Yep, there is. I think it's in here. If you say visibility, you can say, was it in here? No, you can show it as wireframe. There's a way, okay? It's somewhere in the visibility settings. You can enable that it always shows the wireframe basically. Yeah. Okay. The head needs to be a little bit wider, just a little bit. There you go. We also have horns. Let's add those now. Now that we have a good head, they should be somewhere in between the ears, so somewhere right here. Not that big, maybe this big. Looks pretty good. So yeah, they're basically just going backwards, like this. Ooh. And then they go inwards again. Need to go. Will this be uploaded on YouTube? Yes, it will. Probably next week. I have too much that I want to upload next week, so maybe I'll not upload it next week, but it will definitely become a topic next week. Or it will be a video in the future. You can also go to YouTube and watch the past broadcast if you want to watch it earlier, you know. A new video came out today, if you haven't watched it yet. It's about why you shouldn't trust your brain when sculpting, or well, why artists shouldn't trust their brain. You know, maybe that sounds intriguing. It's basically about, maybe you've asked yourself sometimes if you sculpt, hey, you know, I probably don't need retopology. What? I probably don't need references for the sculpt. But you always do, okay? You always do. You always need references. And then in that video we did an experiment, and I tested my brain to see whether or not I can actually sculpt without references. And the results are shocking, okay? That's what I'm going to tell you about it. Yeah, okay. Yep, I'll see you, pointless Blender Blender man or Blender person. RPG. Yeah, in view. Yeah. Someone reviewed it before, but it never used Twitch. Yeah. I mean, if you don't watch YouTube, I mean Twitch user, you can also just watch on YouTube. There you go. Okay, so let's add the neck now. We have the body. We need to add the neck, and then we have everything that we need, and then we can go straight into detailing. Isn't that great? We can immediately go and add more resolution. Truth is, once you start using references, you can't sculpt without them. Yeah. Well, I don't think you can sculpt with. I don't think you lose the ability to sculpt without references. I think it's more that the more you practice, the less you need references, I guess. You know. But it's not like you can sculpt like a perfect zebra before you ever use references, and then if you don't use them or if you then start using, you lose the ability. I think it would more be the opposite, because you observe what a zebra looks like and kind of internalize it more. Exactly, the results are shocking, and then like the most clickbait title with at least 3 circles and 2 arrows. Okay, so the neck. I also want to include some of the chest, because you have this little emblem there. So I maybe not include the emblem, but I kind of want to at least add the chest, at least some of it. There you go. Looks quite familiar, or similar to the characters that I usually, or how I sculpt character necks, like this. Looks like a humanoid animal right now. That's not really what I'm going for. Let's make the neck a little bit shorter. Watch before YouTube deletes. I've never really seen that before. Watch before YouTube deletes it. Okay. Maybe we can bring it up a little bit. So one thing that is also harder to do in dynamic topology is moving stuff. More moving stuff with the snakehook brush than the grab brush, because the snakehook brush basically always looks whether or not there's geometry that needs to be, I guess, subdivided. So there are two calculations running. First, you move the geometry, and the second one is it looks for things to calculate and to subdivide. The grab brush is a little bit different. It also moves stuff around, but it only moves vertices. It doesn't subdivide them or collapses them. So if you want to, use, if you realize that your snakehook, for example, your snakehook brush sort of lags a little bit when you're moving stuff, it might be better to use the grab brush. Okay. That's the wrong one. There you go. Okay, so we have the main bulk of the sculpt. Perfect. Let's get into some more details now. So I think I want to go add some more detail to the neck first, and then we can go back to the face. We probably should add some fur now. So what I usually try to do is I like to sort of include everything that is sort of part of the big shapes. You can see right now, we have the eyes, we have the nose, we have the mouth, we have the ears and antlers. But I think the main thing is still missing, which is of course the fur. So let's add some fur here. It kind of starts all over the place. I guess we can start somewhere over here and add some. I like to use the clay strips brush for this, because the clay strips brush adds this cool structure to it. It already looks like some hair flowing in the wind. That's why I like to use the clay strips brush rather than the draw brush, for example, because it inherently has this very cool structure that you can use to sort of sculpt hair flow, or like a hair structure, because you can get these nice lines right there. Just doing detail flood with dynamic topology when you need more res, and then sculpting without it is always less laggy. Nope. Detail flood fill is even more dangerous than using remeshing with high resolution. In my experiment, or I did a quick experiment where I set the resolution in detail flood fill very, very high. Well, somewhat high, I guess. Very high, I think like 300. And I remeshed. Blender crashed. Then I did the same with remeshing. Set it to roughly the same amount. And it didn't crash. It took a while, but it didn't crash. So detail flood fill, in my experience, is very, very dangerous. Okay, so I don't really like to use it. And it sort of, it sort of, I guess, removes the biggest benefit of using dynamic topology, because it's basically just remeshing, but with dynamic topology. So it doesn't really, it doesn't remesh it, it just subdivides and collapses everything. 300 dynamic topology is big. Yeah. Yeah, the thing is though, if you go to 75, for example, I don't think I think there's a pretty high chance that some PCs can't handle that. And they probably can with the remeshing. So it's it's kind of like a, I think yeah, if you want to use the technique of adding more resolution before you continue sculpting, or you kind of change the geometry before you continue sculpting, then I would probably use remeshing. Okay, we need even more here. So let's put on the big brush and add a lot more fur here. He needs to be, his neck needs to rest on his fur. That's how much fur he needs. And the back, he probably has like a mane too, so we can maybe start from right here, go in between the antlers right there, perfect. And just kind of add some more structure right here too. See how we can already see sort of the hair flow here in the back? That's why I like to use the clay strips. I think the draw brush can be very useful for more organic or more soft sculpts, like skin, for example, because the draw brush inherently is smoother than the clay strip brush. You probably don't need the smooth brush as much as if you want to if you use these clay strips brush, for example. But I just got used to this one, so now I just stick with the clay strips brush. Why not add fur using something like blended particle system? Well, this kind of fur would take ages to do with particles. Okay. Maybe a little bit too big now. Okay, I think the eyes need some work. Change the structure just a little bit, bring this corner in a little bit more. I also want to make it look more like cat eyes, so I'm going to bring this corner further back just a little bit. Okay. So I think we now have almost everything that we need to add for the big shapes. I think we can go into more details soon, or in a few minutes. I just want to make sure that, you know, what I like to do is I like to sort of use the resolution that I have as long as possible until I sort of realize that I need more. So I kind of go through everything once or twice to just kind of, you know, utilize the resolution that I have right now, and then I go higher. Kind of add some fur here in the ear. Not eye, ear. There you go. We can also use the snake brush, of course, to kind of add these little strands, but I kind of want to do that afterwards with more resolution. You don't need more than 20 dynamic quality for a body, 50 for a face, 70 is mostly for really small details. Well, depends on how detailed you want to get, you know. Yeah, I think I stayed with 20 for the body. You know, yeah, it just depends on how detailed you want to go now, you know. For the fingers, for example, you probably need more than 20. For the rest of the body, you can probably stick with 20. Okay. So the forehead looks good. I'm also going to pose it. He looks kind of weird right now because he's just, you know, straight. I'm going to give him a pose at some point. Not right now. What is the other one right there? What is that? Is that a hair? No, that's another horn. Oh no, I haven't even seen that. I need to add another horn. Right here. I guess it starts right there. We need to put these closer together. Maybe the ears a little bit further apart. And then we can add the other horn too. Kind of weird how, maybe it's been there for a while, but it's kind of weird how very recently a lot of people mention remeshing instead of like for sculpting. I've never really heard like a big discussion about it before, but apparently now it pops up, which is interesting. Maybe it's been there for a while, but I've maybe just never seen it. There you go. Finger face is always simplify 50 for me. Yeah, I usually don't use simplify necessarily. Well, yeah, if I go higher resolution, then I use simplify and then apply it to the entire face. I don't usually use dynamic topology, and I think I want to kind of go away from using dynamic topology in higher resolutions or having it enabled in higher resolutions, rather just applying the resolution first and then going into sculpting again, because it's just smoother. You can feel the difference. It's like going from 30 to 60 FPS. You can feel the difference. What is not a quick sketch? Remesh versus Dyntopo. CG Cookie video always use Remesh. Oh, really? I actually don't remember who I watched for sculpting videos when I learned about it. Okay, think one thing that I want to do right now is I want to make this thicker. I guess the best way to do that would be to use the inflate brush, maybe. Not the, is it the inflate brush? No, maybe. Oh, look at that. Perfect. I actually misspoke, but it was the right option. There you go. Make it nice and thick. Perfect. That's cool. Okay. Of course, this is sort of a problem here because it's so close to the rest of the face, but it is what it is. Okay, we can't really do much about it. Another thing I'm gonna pull up right now is references for a tiger. As I said before, I'm not good at sculpting without references. So I'm gonna grab some so I can make sure that everything looks alright. And then we're gonna go into more detail. Do we have a... There's one. Perfect. Oh, hello. That's the wrong. There you go. Okay. If you do this, that looks so easy, but it's hard. What? You mean remeshing? Or you mean the sculpt? Okay, there you go. So let's see. The eyes can probably be a little bit rounder. So let's make them a little bit rounder. There you go. Also, I want to kind of place this more in the front because the eye sort of needs to rest in the eye hole here. I want to make an actual proper eye hole here too. There you go. We're going to add eyes too. Of course, eyeballs. Okay. We need to make sure that if you look at the eyelids from below, or I guess above, they have this U shape because you need to kind of consider the eyeball shape, which, you know, looks like a U shape. There you go. Okay. I want to bring the mouth in a little bit more. And then push the nose down just a little bit and add more volume here. The fatigue is great. Yeah, it's really good. That's what I use for the mech helmet that releases a time lapse on Monday. Okay. What is that? What is this swoop right here? I don't really know where to put that. You can see there's some more here too, right here, but I'm not there yet, okay? I think we basically have everything that we need now. Oh. There you go. Wait, do I have... No, I don't. There you go. I want to give the forehead a little bit more space here. More space to breathe. Perfect. Okay. I think we can go into higher resolutions now. Okay. So now that we have the basic block out, let's go into dynamic topology and we're going to set it to 50. I like to go from 20 to 50, and then if I need even more, I can go to 75 or maybe even 100. Yeah, 50 is still, I guess you could say, small enough a resolution that you can still just continue sculpting without having to use the simplify brush. Of course, if you, at least my PC can handle it. If your PC is struggling, then you know, you can begin using the simplify brush now. Or maybe it starts even at 20, then, you know, I guess you start at 20. Whenever it becomes laggy, then, you know, begin using the simplify brush. So with the nose, looks actually a little bit different than I sculpted in the beginning. But now that we have more resolution, we can actually apply that. There you go. It has this sort of heart shape. It also sort of cuts to the back. So we have this little cut right here. Or a little slit, I guess. The nose gets wider as it goes to the back, and then it gets thinner again, a little bit. There you go. Another good thing about more resolution is that now if we use the clay strip brush again, we can add finer hairs. So on the nose, for example, we can add this little texture now. There you go. One problem that I always ran into is if I increase the resolution, I'm always tempted to add more resolution to everything. Because, you know, you see how much more defined one spot looks, and then you want to apply it to everything else too. But the more detail you want to add, the longer it takes to do so, you know, or the more detail you have, the longer it takes to add the amount of resolution to everything. Okay. So yeah, we already added sort of like a fur structure right here. That's exactly what you can do with the clay strips brush. Let's yeah, so we're gonna begin refining this with the crease brush, especially because the crease brush is very good for just kind of sort of adding more definition, I guess, to everything, because it pulls stuff together. It can create very sharp edges. It can create very sharp creases, which is somewhat harder with stuff like the clay strips brush, for example. You probably need to do a little bit more work to kind of get to the same spot where you would be if you use the crease brush. The draw sharp brush, I guess, can help you there too. The benefit of using the crease brush is that you combine the pinch brush with the draw sharp brush, which, because you pinch stuff together, it gets, you know, sharper, I guess. And that is why I use the crease brush instead of the draw sharp brush. I guess that's more personal preference, maybe. So glad there are so many people talking lately. I want more to join Discord. Steal some techniques? Oh no. So you're an art thief is what you're saying. I see. Didn't know there are art thieves, or that, you know, that you're that you've sunken that low. No. I think I actually today watched a video, at least, you know, where they included a quote of Steve Jobs. I don't know if that was like an actual quote of him, but I can believe it. He said, what did he say? Great artists copy, and amazing artists steal. So yeah, I guess you're an amazing artist. Isn't that great? I'm not an art thief. I'm a technique thief. So well. Did you get the rights to do so though? That's the question. Can you can you copyright claim someone using your technique? That would be interesting. Oh no. God, Stefan, what did you do? So another good way to use the crease brush is if we increase the pinching to 0.7, for example, maybe even more, we can create these very, very nice hair strands here. Especially if we increase the strength too. Look at that. Ooh. And then by using the good old principle, not only subtracting, but also adding. Well, we add right now, but if we subtract now, we can add way more depth to the sculpt. And if you ever wonder, hey, my sculpt looks kind of shallow or looks kind of flat, maybe that could be a way to improve it. Always think about if you're kind of adding more detail, or you're kind of adding like a texture, for example, to your sculpt, and you use the crease brush to do so. Think about not just creasing inwards, but also adding more outwards to increase the depth even more. basically. See how much more depth we have, just because, like, look at this. This is what it looks like right now, but then if I do this, for example, look how much more defined it is and how much more structure we can create. Ligma boss. Patent on technique. No, God Stephen is no troll. Nightbot is just very sensitive, okay? Oh, another thing that we can use now is the snake brush. See how we can create these small little horns or these small little hair particles here. I'm excited, or I'm interested to see if we can do the same with the Remesher. I guess we can. I think the way we need to sculpt is not really different. I think it just the way we add more resolution is different. So I think the workflow doesn't have to change too much. Maybe there are some things you can do to optimize it, but we can get into that a little bit later. So we can add like a little bit of more hair structure here. Of course, it looks kind of weird because it's symmetrical, but we can look into that a little bit later too. How much more time do I have? I actually forgot that we have a timer. 23 minutes? Okay. So let's go a little bit broader here. Let's add some more detail here. They have these sort of lines that go to the back, or the whiskers. Very important. There you go. Okay. Let's go to the eyes. The eyes can also need some more definition. First of all, we're going to add the sort of eyebrow here in the middle. And then we can go back right here. Use the crease brush, for example, to kind of define everything a little bit more. Also the clay strips brush right here. There you go. And then go down here and do the same. One thing to note is oftentimes animals that have eyes pointing forward, for some reason, I don't really know why, maybe because there's no other room otherwise, the eyelid or the tear duct points forward. I don't really know why, but it does, you know. There you go. So one thing to note when you sculpt animals, for example. We can also now kind of add proper thickness to the eyelids, like this. Look at that. Look how much more detail we already have. Now this is just by using 2 brushes, you know. You only need 2 brushes to add insane detail. Okay. People just don't like him because he's a furry. Hey. There are enough people out there, okay, that like furries. I wonder if if a big YouTuber came out and say like, hey, you know, I'm a furry, if people would unsubscribe. I feel like people don't really care about it. It's more like a meme, you know? Doesn't really, I don't think a lot of people care about it really. It's like a, you know, just like a standard, well, it's long-running meme. Okay, now we can also go into the using the crease brush, and we kind of add individual hair strands here like this. We can also use it like this to kind of give it more 3-dimensionality. There you go. Looks kind of like, I guess, like, what are they called? Scales, but, you know, I guess that's, we need more detail on them to make them look more like fur. Challenge idea, sculpt without the clay strips brush. Oh no. I guess I would have to use the draw brush then. I would suffer through the entire scope, but it should be possible. Kind of want to decrease the pinch a little bit, maybe to 0.6. Let's go a little bit broader now. Go in here, for example, add some big strokes right here, nice into the middle here. There you go. We can also then use the clay source brush again, of course, to kind of pull out some more of these hair strands that sort of point, that sort of exit the main body of hair. Right here too. Not too much though. Keep them very subtle. Okay, let's continue over here first. See, because of the clay source brush, we already have sort of the structure already drawn out, so we kind of really only have to define it more, which is why I use the clay source brush so much. See how we have this line right here, so we can now just kind of draw in here and use this. Do the same here. There you go. Another hair strand, perfect. And then maybe down here too. Look at that. And then we can use the snake hook brush again to just kind of pull it out some more. Oh. There you go. Looks maybe a little bit unorganic. What we can then do is we can maybe just go in here and go in between these very smooth surfaces and just kind of add some more individual hair particles to make it look a little bit wilder, I guess you could say. Look at that. And it already looks a little bit more natural. Look at that. Let's go into the ear and do the ear now. So one thing, another way that I like to do, that I like to use these simplify brush is I like to apply it first. So we can do that for the ear, for example. I like to apply it to the ear. There you go. And then I like to switch to the smooth brush and switch it to the surface deformation mode. This basically means it only smoothes the surface before it can also smooth the volume. Set it to 0.75 shape preservation, for example, with 5 iterations. And then if we apply it, we only really remove the sort of very pixelated geometry or pixelated look and keep the volume that we had before. It also sometimes keeps these sort of bumps right here, or these smaller, I guess, details that the clay strips, for example, created, which is, yeah, another good way to use the simplify brush in combination with the smooth brush. Pyro came out as a furry, really? Like, actually, or was that more like a joke? What's the next resolution? Probably 20. So we can add some more here. The ear is of course quite thin, so I don't want to extend the sort of fur right here all the way into the tip of the ear. Would at least make it like a nice transition from towards very long fur towards shorter. Another thing we can add now are the sort of is the end here. This sort of hair that's sort of pointing or kind of, you know, extending over the actual ear. Like this maybe. There you go. Maybe even adjust the shape a little bit more. Now that we have more resolution, we can do that too. He had some cringe allegations against him. Okay. You should post those quick tips to Twitter as a GIF. I do, at least some of them. Most of them I post as clips on YouTube on the Clips channel. And then I also upload some of them to Twitter and to Instagram and TikTok. If you need for more tips, then you know where to look. Okay. Let's refine the antlers a little bit. We can do the same there too. Use the simplify brush, and I like to go into this view so I know where I have applied it to. We do the same for the horns. Go all the way around. Like this. Okay. Then we can go back in here. We can maybe even just use the smooth brush as is and just smooth it, because the antler is supposed to be quite smooth, so we don't really need to do too much more. We don't need to keep the shape necessarily. We want to have a very smooth horn like this. Perfect. We do the same for this one here too. I like to tab my smooth brush too, that it doesn't apply the smooth brush as much. It sort of applies it lighter. The reason for that is basically because the way the brushes work is the same how they do in Photoshop too, where they basically have a frequency in I guess all brushes have a frequency how they are applied, or with which they are applied. You can see the frequency here in the stroke settings. You can see the spacing is basically 6%. So when you stroke with your brush, if the stroke is 6%, has reached 6% of the brush's size, it applies the brush again. So if you want to have very, 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 I guess, fine brush strokes, you can set it to, hold on, where is it? I lost it. Stroke. So you can set, if you want to have a very fine brush, you can set it to 1%, then it's smoother. It also gets laggier though, so that's one thing to keep in mind. And then if you set it to 100, for example, you can also space them out more. So it looks more like a little dotted pattern. See how you, I don't know if you can see that. See, there you go. You can draw these lines basically. They can also be useful sometimes if you sculpt. Like you want to have like these small little, like a line of dotted, like small little horns. You can use that, for example. Okay. We have how much more time? It's 12 minutes, so let's get into it now. Oh. We have some more fur to do, so let's get into it. There you go. So I begin by basically using the clay strip brush to kind of lay out the structure, and then I use the crease brush to refine the structure. Like that. If I make the crease brush a little bit thinner, the pinch will be stronger, or the crease will be finer, but it will not, of course, affect that much of the sculpt. So it's like a mix that you always have to kind of find, like a good middle ground. You can also, of course, use the crease brush to kind of add some structure here to everything. And here you can see, this is the point where dynamic topology can get quite laggy. If you move your brushes with a high enough resolution around too much, you can see it starts to lag a little bit. I don't know if you can see the difference necessarily here right now. But if I deactivate it, you can see it. Hopefully. I feel it at least. You know, if I feel how the brush is sort of lagging a little bit. Especially if I do this. See how it's starting to lag? If I remove dynamic topology, I can do that, you know, very easily without any lags. So that's the problem that you run into if you use dynamic topology with a high resolution, or if you have a slower PC, you would run into that fairly quickly too. And that's where the technique comes in. Da-da-da. So what we could do here now is we could use the simplify brush, apply it here. There you go. And then we can deactivate it. Hello. And then we can use the crease brush however we want. Look at that, beautiful. Look at that beautiful fur. Amazing. Maybe we can even increase the, what about pinch 1? Look at that, oh my. Yeah, it creates it creates a lot of stretching, so I don't really like to use pinch 1. I'm gonna stick with 0.6. Okay, let's add some bigger strands here. I want to add one. I want to kind of detail the fur down here a little bit more. Let me actually increase the apply dynamic topology again. Or let me just apply the simplify brush here. There you go. Woo! And the bonus for this is if you would apply a 50 resolution with detail flood fill, your PC might crash. But if you do it with simplify, you do it in a small area, so it has more time to calculate, or it doesn't have to calculate everything at once, so it's less prone to crash. So that's why I also like to use the simplify brush when I want to apply the same geometry to everything, because it's less prone to crash, and you have something to do while you have something to do. I guess while the resolution of your sculpt increases. There you go. It's starting to lag a little bit, but that's not too bad because we can now deactivate dynamic topology. And now it's nice and smooth. Woo! 7 minutes, okay. There you go. See how we can even just use the clay strips brush to create this nice hair structure here. That is exactly why I like it so much. Use box trim on massive model, then went to get something to eat. Yeah. Box trim can be quite laggy. If it works, you can also use the line project. That one seems to be more seems to be smoother because it just projects instead of just cut the geometry off. It seems to work better. And then once we have the main structure for the clay strips brush, we have now more structure that we can see, that we can now sort of define more. So here, for example, we can see these lines. We can now use the crease brush to, just define these areas a little bit more. Use these lines as guides, for example. There you go. And we already have way more detail here in the front too. Okay, let's go here. I actually want to, I want to go over everything first before I do one more thing. I think that's all we can do with the last 4 minutes. Refine the rest a little bit more, and then we can go into remeshing. Also, we can sort of frizzle out the edge a little bit more, make it look more natural, like this. There you go. A few more hairs here and there, and then we can do one more thing. Which is basically add some prominent hairs to the bottom part too, to the sort of mane. To give it some more interesting, I guess, pieces, set pieces, however you want to call it. Another thing that I want to do is I want to go to the horn and give it a better structure. I basically just want to go in here, use the crease brush, and add this little edge right here. I think that can help too. There you go. Do the same on the side here. Make it like a nice sharp edge here too. Then we can use the smooth brush to kind of smooth the horn here, make the surface rather straight, then round. There you go. Okay. The other horns I think can stay quite round. I think that's what they look like. Okay. 1 minute 54. Okay. Yeah, let's activate dynamic topology once more, because now what I want to do is I want to use the snake hook brush, and I want to go in here and just kind of add some very specific sort of hairs here, like this. And then we can use the crease brush again to just kind of refine it again. You can see how it's lagging. I don't know if you can see that, but it's lagging for me. Because it's not only moving the geometry, but it's also subdividing it. Oh, another thing that we can do to make these look even more like hair, because they're quite round right now, we can set it from smooth to linear, and that makes the tip of these a little bit sharper. Look at that. Okay, 45 seconds. There's one more thing that I want to do, so I guess we do that now. Which is basically posing the character. So we're going to go in here, we're going to go into side view. We're going to save first, and then we're going to select the mask brush, or the lasso mask. Select the head, including the antlers, of course. There you go. We'll then use the mask brush to make it nice and smooth. Let me deactivate dynamic topology. Nice and smooth. Okay. And then we invert it. Use the rotate brush to give it a nice pose by deactivating symmetry. There you go. Perfect. Okay. A few more adjustments here and there, and then we're good. I know it's overtime, but I'm gonna have the same leeway for the other one. Okay, perfect. There it is. So here's the first one. Let's give him eyes, and then we're good. Let's then do the next one. That was already an hour, pretty crazy. UV sphere versus subdivided cube, which one do you like? I think the subdivided cube has better topology. I guess for what is there, like, is there a certain case, or just in general, which one I like more? I think in general I would actually use the, well, for sculpting I use a UV sphere, but for base meshes, for example, I use a cube. Because it's easier to shape. Okay, let's add eyes. There you go. Let's actually give them a shape real quick with my favorite way to do this. There you go, second row. And then get rid of this. Wait, no, get rid of this. Remove. Wait, is that the right one? I think so. Dissolve edge. Oh, hello. There you go. Oh. Move this inwards. Then extrude. And scale up. Perfect. Apply subdivision. And crease some edges. That's the wrong one, of course. There you go. Perfect. You see the eyes are actually too big. I mean the eye holes. But I'm gonna just keep them that way. One more thing that I want to do is I want to use an entity to control the eyes. Just in general for sculpting, I guess I would say UV sphere. Because I use dynamic topology, so geometry doesn't really change. Well, the geometry doesn't really matter that much. And the shape that you begin with only really matters in the beginning. Use a damp drag to drag to the empty. Perfect. And it's a Z. There you go. Okay. Place it somewhere over here. Perfect. Look at that. So that's the first one. Let's go to the next one. So now that we've finished the dynamic topology sculpt, you know, pretty much the same procedure as I always do. Let's go into UV sculpting, or no, not UV sculpting, remeshing, and see how that turns out. I think, I said it before, but I think the workflow won't really change that much. It is more, well, yeah, the way I sculpt, I probably won't change that much. Really only how I add the geometry, or how I kind of retain the enough geometry may change a little bit. I might run into some, you know, some things that I need to solve in my brain, but they shouldn't be too hard to solve. Okay, let's make another one. Called it Remesh. There you go. Put another sphere in here. And there you go. Okay. So let's set it back to an hour. Stop. There you go. Yeah. I think everything's ready. So let's get into sculpting. Remesh it. We're going to use remesh anyway, so let's remesh it. That's what I've done for dynamic topology too. And I think we're ready to begin. So I need to remember dynamic topology is off. Perfect. Remeshing is down here, right underneath it. So that's what I need to use. Let's get rid of this. Okay. It's gonna be a little bit hard to go against my, against my, my habits, but we'll see. Okay. Okay. Let's begin in 3, 2, 1, go. There you go. Okay. So, yeah, I'm just gonna start how I did it for the first one too. Starting with the basic shapes and then going into more detail afterwards. I'm gonna just do the same that I've done for dynamic topology and until I reach a point where I sort of realize, well, it doesn't really work that well anymore. You can of course see right now that I don't have as much resolution as I would have with dynamic topology. So maybe I can already set up a higher resolution. I like to use the keypad to just select this and see what resolution we have here. And then I like to just divide it, for example, by 2. There you go. So we have the half or a half as big voxel size. Remesh it. There you go. And then I have more to work with. Okay. I think this is enough to really work on this for quite a while until I need to add more. One thing, of course, that will probably happen more is that we run into stretchy faces, which can maybe sort of, limit some areas. But I'm optimistic. Okay, I won't. Just because I use a different way to sculpt doesn't mean that I want to flame the other one. Actually, for this one, it might be more useful to use no pinching right now. So what if I remove this? Maybe that's better right now because it doesn't take away geometry from areas where I need it maybe, and because I sort of need to work with the geometry that I have more than just getting more if I need it. It's probably better to just deactivate the pinching for now. There you go. Looks kind of sad. Hold on. Okay, let's go and add the cheekbone right here. Make it thinner on the side. So far it's not that different, of course. Especially if you stay with the same amount of resolution for quite a while, which we do with just blocking out the whole thing. I don't really, the difference isn't really that noticeable. Cheekbone. There you go. Forehead. Good thing is that's the reason why I wanted to do dynamic topology first, because if I would have done the remeshing first, I would have not only thought about how I want to use remeshing, but also how I want to sculpt the mesh, which is like 2 things I need to think about. And I don't really need to think about how I want to use dynamic topology because I've done it for such a long time. There you go. So the ears will be interesting now. Let me go into that soon. I'm gonna go to the front first. There you go. Okay, make it nice and thin here. Of course, the 2 sculpts will not look exactly the same. I can't replicate exactly what I've done before, but I'll try to get it. Maybe you know, I'm not trying to make this look worse, so you know, I'll try to make this look as good as possible. I don't think it's gonna look that different. You know, I'm just it's just a little bit of a different workflow. Of course, I had some, I guess you could say, theories or concepts with which I went into this. Like, I thought about what would be the result, what could be the result, but of course, I'll try to keep an open mind to not, you know, taint my, I guess, opinion at the end. Okay, let's now add the ears. So I think at this point we run into the first, I guess, instance where dynamic topology changes or differs from remeshing. I will now select where I want to pull out the ears, right here, for example, like this. And then I invert it, of course, and grab my snagger brush. I now pull it out, and the problem will probably be that the faces will be very stretched. You can see how stretchy they get, especially because of the transition here in the ears. I mean, in the faces here from the mask, how the mask gets stretched out. So I think, you know, the best solution would there be, the more we stretch it out, of course, the less control we have over the shape. So just hit Control R to remesh it again, and then we have enough geometry again to kind of reshape this more. You're trying to make remesh look worse to prove dynamic topology is superior. Well, that's exactly what I'm not trying to do. I'm trying to explore how to work with remeshing to see whether or not I like it more. Why would I do this if I already know that I won't use it? Okay, there you go. Go in here and dig in here. So, you know, it's not really that different. The biggest difference is that it's sort of like with dynamic topology, well, with remeshing, you press Ctrl R to remesh the sculpt. With dynamic topology, it sort of does that for you locally where you need it, I guess you could say. So at least right now, it's not that different. It's going to be more, I guess, it's going to be more different when you work on smaller details. But yeah, we'll see how it works then. You know, maybe it's still very smooth. One benefit could be that, okay, I'll see you, God Stefan. Thank you for joining. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. One thing could be that remeshing could be way smoother, you know, maybe. Compared to having dynamic topology on the whole time. So I'm excited to see if that's the case. So here are the ears. I want to add the neck now, and then we're going to go into the antlers. I think I did the other ones first before. There you go. Grab the mask brush. Okay. Invert it and pull it out. And here you can see again the faces get stretched. But if we press Ctrl R, we should resolve this issue. One thing that I notice right now is if I now, for example, press Ctrl R, it's gonna remove the mask, which is a little bit of a problems. Because I like my mask, because I want to still keep it and work with it. So pressing Ctrl R is sort of working against the way I want to work. I'm kind of thinking about how you could still keep, like how you could pull out stuff like antlers or the neck in remeshing without removing the mask, or maybe a different workflow to create the mesh. I mean, to create this this neck. So if I now press Ctrl R, for example, this will be remeshed. Perfect. But of course the mask is gone. Somebody has a way to do it, please tell me. Okay. There you go. So we have the neck right here. Might be a little bit too big. Okay. There you go. We can now add some more fur here underneath too, kind of define the structure. And you can see it doesn't really change that much. We can still add a lot of structure right now to, we can block out the hair sort of with the clay brush, even though we don't have dynamic topology on. There's not really like a huge difference here, for example. I just use a second mesh and then join them later if I want to make something like ears or horns. Stuff that comes out needs more res. That would probably be slower than just using a mask and then getting rid of it, right? I kind of like the other one more still. I mean, like just like accepting that the mask gets removed. Okay, there you go. Okay, let me adjust some proportions. It looks kind of weird right now. Okay, that's better. The mouth looks good too for now. Nose might be a little bit too big. Actually, no, it looks okay. Okay. Let's add the antlers. We'll do the same that we've done for the neck. We're gonna begin with the smaller ones, or with the ones in the middle, and then we're gonna add the ones that sort of curl around. Okay, first antler here. Grab the snake brush, I guess, for this one, because we want to add the sort of, I want to add this little I guess, like whatever that is, like a this corner here at the end. I probably need to first begin like this. Here we run into a problem. Let's see. So one way we could do this, I thought about what I could do is I could just pull it out, press Ctrl R, and then do it again. Thing is, well, I could probably, hold on, pull it out, then press Ctrl R, and then I already have it pulled out, so I don't really need to worry about the mask anymore, at least for these ones. There you go, more geometry, and then go in here, add this little corner right there. Is that too long? Might be quite long. Let's pull it back. Okay. The move tool, yeah. It's, well, yeah, it basically does the same with like the snake hook brush. Good thing with the snake hook brush is that it sort of it spaces out the geometry a little bit more, which allows me to, I guess, fill more volume with them, or kind of cover more volume. If you use the move brush, they all stay in the front. See, now if I kind of realize, hey, the brush kind of loses its potency or its strength, I can just hit Ctrl R again, and then I have more resolution again, that I can then use to yeah, add more shape to this. So now we can add the little horns right here, right there. So the thing is, that's one thing I guess that you kind of have to consider, is that if you do like a curved shape here, you very quickly lose the geometry. You could maybe say that you would add these smaller details later. What does it look like if I now hit Ctrl R? Oh, it works quite well actually. There you go. So with a few Ctrl Rs, it gets to a pretty good state. There you go. So it still works like this. You know, adding all these small things by adding new objects kind of sounds very cumbersome. I think that's the right word for it. So we have to do the same here for this horn. We select where it originates from, and then we pull it out. Hit Ctrl R because we now have the mesh, and then we can reshape it. The one problem that we run into here, or that I currently run into, is that if I want to bring this horn very close to this surface, I can't use a mask. Maybe now I can. So if I now hit Shift A, I can create the proximity mask. And then I can continue. I guess that works. There you go. Control R. Perfect. Huh? Hello? Why is it connected? Oh. Well, that's a problem. Hold on. So, because this... So I wanted to put this horn very close to the surface of his cheeks, okay? Of course. The problem is, because of the remesh, it merges these things together. So I guess I would either have to increase the resolution, or I would have to... well, yeah. That's basically what I have to do. So I guess I have to wait on these horns a little bit. Or I could just... Can you... Wait, can... What if I do this? Well, that didn't work. Hold on. What if I do this? And then I... Can you make a new object out of a mask? Make mask extract? Yeah, there it is. What is that? Okay. Ah. Now I could go into sculpting again. And then I can switch between these. What is that? What did I just do? Okay, my headset is empty again. Okay, so I've wanted to extract this horn so it's not in the same mesh anymore. The weird thing is, something weird happened. It sort of created this hollow mesh. Why? Okay. Let's try it again without. Maybe there's another option for it. Hello? Oh. Yeah, I have a wireless headset that with a docking station, and you have two batteries. So if one is empty, you can, you know, you can switch them. That's what I just did. One was empty, so I switched it. Okay, so hold on. Mask. Slice. Slice is the paint mask from the mesh. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Mask slice to new object. Ah. Ah. There it is. That's what I wanted. Perfect. Is there a hotkey for it? Or is it... oh. You have to make a copy of the sculpt and do the extract mask as new object. Apparently not. Hold on. So if I now have this horn here, mask, which one is it? Make slice to new object. You can, I guess, assign a shortcut. Control plus. Didn't work. Let's try again. Press a key. Well, hold on. Mask. Mask slice to new object. There it is. Assign shortcut. Press a key. Control plus. It doesn't settle. Wait, does it work now? Let's see. So if I go in here and I just select this again. There you go. And then I miss Control plus. Oh, it already has a shortcut. I guess I have to use another one. Let's make another one. Control F8. Okay. Nope, doesn't work. Well, but you can also just select it, I guess. It's not a big deal. Now I can remesh it. There you go. And then I can work between the two. So maybe that's a better way to do it. We can now use inflate to work and continue working on this. That's actually something that I wanted to know anyway. How you can separate parts by selecting them as a mask. The only problem that you might run into now is that, well, you have two objects that you sort of have to work together. So if I want to make sure that the horn has the same thickness on one mesh that it does on the other, then I need to switch to this one, for example, and then I need to kind of expand it here too, which makes it a little bit harder, but it still works. There you go. And then if I wouldn't want to move this, I would also have to move this first. And then I go in here and I select this one. Let's see. What is that? Okay. That's still fairly doable. Okay. It's in the realm of possibilities. Okay. There you go. Let's go back to the other one again and work on this some more. So I want to give this some more structure here underneath, especially give it some more here and on the side. Add the sort of main already. Perfect. We don't really have to worry about this scope because we can just scope through it because it's a separate object. Let's go in here too, to this part, do the same on the forehead, going to the back in between the antlers. There you go. Okay. There's one more thing that I want to do here, which is add some fur here to the ears. Grab the Hancock brush, pull it in front. There you go. Okay. Now that I have everything that I need, I kind of want to adjust some things here and there to get it closer to the desired look, and then we can go to the next step. So just some small proportional changes, and then we should be good. There you go. So I can imagine it could, you know, become a problem if you have a lot of these small separated meshes. but right now it works. Okay, let's go higher now. Should we double it? Why not? Of course, this would be an exponential growth, so it could run into problems, but I'm gonna divide it by 2 again. See what happens. Oh, there you go. Went pretty quickly. And we have more resolution. Maybe even more? How about more? What if we go to divided by 2 again? Let's see what that looks like. Oh, that was a moderately long lag, but it worked. We have way more geometry now, and we can now use that to refine everything a little bit. So one thing that, what I kind of think about is, we now have more resolution, but what if we sort of see some stretching faces again? We would have to remesh it again, which would lag again. So I guess if you add so much resolution, or you make the voxel size so small that it always lags a lot, I guess that could be a problem, but maybe not. I want to increase the pinching now a little bit, maybe to 0.25. There you go. And then we can pinch this a little bit more. Okay, I want to adjust the eyes first. They look very goofy right now. Are you usually doing sculpting with dynamic topology? Yes. Usually I use dynamic topology. That's what we've done for the first one. Now we're doing the next one with, well, the same one, but with remeshing. We probably have some more time afterwards, so I'm kind of curious how other people do it. How other people use the, or what other people use, and maybe we can watch some videos and see their workflow. Get educated and maybe learn a little bit more. You know, there might be some things that I miss about remeshing that I, you know, that we can learn from others. More dynamic and really shines while detailing. Yeah. I agree. I think it's also more intuitive, but I'll try to stay unbiased, okay? I'll try my best. There you go. You can still create great looking sculpts with both, of course, so it's not really like a huge game changer necessarily. It's maybe also a little bit more about of course it depends on what kind of sculpts you create. So if you, for example, create a lot of I guess like stylized sculpts, you probably don't need that much resolution, so you can probably work with remeshing more easily. Like stylized characters don't require you to sculpt folds, for example, or wrinkles. So there's one thing where probably remeshing, you know, is pretty good. Or maybe the differences between dynamic topology don't really matter that much. Okay. That's the nose. Let's go in here in between the middle. I wonder why there's this line here in between the cheeks, I guess you could say. Probably similar to how humans have like a line there. That there's just like the muscle that sort of connects to the bone there. And that's why there's this little dip. That's probably why. So of course, if you know, now that we have quite a lot of resolution, we can you know, stretch it quite a lot, and we can work with this for quite a while without really experiencing any, you know, any problems like stretchy faces, like for example. We can also already include some hair structure here. There you go. I'm kind of curious what happens. I'm kind of curious, but also scared to see what happens if I would now just press Ctrl R. Would that completely remove my hair that I just sculpted? I think I need to try it for the experiment's sake. So let's see what happens. Okay, it takes a while, of course. Yeah, it gets a little bit softer, but it's not too extreme. So if you don't do it too much, maybe it doesn't matter too much. What I do like though about remeshing is because it's all quads, at least with the setting that I use. I like the structure more. You can create like the blocky structure looks better in remeshing than it does in dynamic topology. So these lines here are way clearer because they're more like cube-like rather than these weird triangles that can oftentimes sort of lose their shape very easily. So that's one thing that I like about them. About remeshing, or at least the structure that it creates. Okay, we can also of course use the crease brush again to kind of detail it out some more. We have 28 minutes, perfect. See, this resolution already looks pretty good. Looks very clean, very smooth. Maybe we don't even need more resolution, but maybe. I'm scared if we do. Okay, let's go here to the front a little bit more. Add this sort of twizzly structure here. Create the base structure for the fur so that we can then go back into it with the crease brush to really refine it. Okay. Once again, we don't have to worry about the horn because it's a separate object. I actually might use that technique more in the future. Especially because it actually creates a mesh that is shut. So it's an actual like closed object. That might be very useful for body sculpts. Because then you can just select an arm and you can separate it from the rest and create your own, like, you can sculpt the body first and then you can create the base mesh basically. That might be another way you could, you know, pose characters, for example. For like extreme poses, you can just remove the arm to avoid big deformations and then just reattach it again afterwards. Maybe. That could be pretty cool. If it works well. Looking pretty dope. I think it looks pretty cool too, I agree. It might be, I don't really know how I would, let's see. So, we could, no, we can't. I can't activate dynamic topology because I think then it applies it. I would like to see what resolution we're working with right now. But I'm scared that if I activate it, it's just gonna destroy the sculpt. What it feels like it's lower. Actually, no, it feels like it's higher res. But of course, it feels very smooth. You can work very smoothly with it because you don't have, like, you don't subdivide it immediately or while you're working. Shift S and try. Okay. Okay, I'm scared. Hold on, let me go into this view so I can make sure that there's nothing getting Dyntopo'd. Okay. Oh, there it is. Well, it broke it. Well, at least we can see what it is now. 77, okay. See how much laggier it is now? Yeah. 77, okay. So, yeah, you can definitely go higher quickly. I guess you can go higher quicker with the remeshing. Let me open it up again. Is this just the 30-minute quick sketch? No, this is the experiment. Or the, yeah, experiment doing the same sculpt once with remeshing and once with dynamic topology. We are done with quick sketches. I've finished a whole year of quick sketches and now I want to move on. I guess you could say. So we're not going to do quick sketches anymore. At least not like daily. Maybe at some point, you know. You could consider this a quick sketch, I guess. If you wanted to. But yeah. No quick sketches anymore. How you knew them before, okay? So yeah, I like the look a lot more currently of this. Probably because it has more resolution, but also just overall, it looks very smooth. I like that about it. I think it sort of struggles a little bit when you want to extend something or you want to add like a horn, for example. But once you kind of have everything that you need, sculpting in it works very, very smoothly. Wait, where's my... There it is. The horn, yeah, the horns are a separate mesh. I selected them, so if you select something with Shift A, for example, like this, you create a mask, like this. Then you can go into mask, and you can say mask slice to new object, and that's what I did for the horn. So we can now go into it again, and we can Control R on this one too, to get the same amount of resolution. And then we can, oh no, oh, so, that's one thing. You can't unify the resolution that easily because I think remeshing takes the size of the object, and the size defines the resolution's scale. And because this object here, this horn, is smaller, the same voxel size doesn't equal the same resolution. Yeah, I guess we just have to divide it by 2 until we sort of reach the same. So this one looks okay. Yeah. Remeshing crumbles it all down. it keeps the volume quite well. Okay, let's do here, go in here. So I'm actually more confident that this will look very clean and nice than the other one, because it already looks pretty clean. Probably need some more resolution here, but let's continue with this resolution first. There you go. Oh, it's in the face. Hold on. Okay. I want to increase the resolution some more. We can also just times 0.75, I guess. Okay, just to get a little bit more. Perfect. What's the command to quickly mask everything? Yeah, if you press Ctrl I, you mask everything. I've actually never used that. I usually just select what I want to have selected, or what I don't want to have selected, and then I just press Ctrl I to invert my selection. That's why I usually do it. Okay. I'm gonna keep it there. And now if you want to go back to the other mesh, we need to change the resolution again. So that shouldn't be a big problem because the resolution is the same everywhere. So all we really need to do is we need to... Hold on, let me make sure that this is nice and sharp. We need to... Oh, not dynamic topology, hold on. Remeshing, and then we switch to this sculpt. We select it with the pipette. And then we press Ctrl R. Why did I press Ctrl R? I don't know. I didn't want to press it. Okay. Let's go and add some more details now. Or refine the shape some more. So I'm kind of tempted to go even higher. That might be a detriment, but I'm kind of curious what would happen. Before I do that, I kind of want to detail some pieces out here, and then we can do that. Okay. I also approach the way I add hair here a little bit different. Just because I want to. I think this is maybe a quicker way to add hair, which probably results in not necessarily worse looking hair. Or worse looking, you know, yeah, I guess hair. There you go. Perfect. That looks good. Let's go to the end of the ear. Do this. Oh, that's good. It's quite thin. I don't want to make them too thin here. Okay. There you go. And then we can press Ctrl R again to get some more resolution. every time I press R, it lags for a short second. Maybe even a long second. There you go. That's the danger that you might run into. That it just at some point you increase it too much and you crash it maybe. But so far, we're not there yet. It froze for a second, but it's not crashing yet, okay. Okay, I'm kind of tempted to go higher. Let's do it. Let's go to times 1.75 again. Not 1.75, damn. Hold on. Times 0.75. Let's save real quick and remesh. Wait, before I do that, I kind of want to add some structure down here. What GPU are you using? I'm using a 1060 GTX 1060, 6 GB. There you go. I want to go around the edge a little bit more. Do that in more than just, you know, the front. Perfect. These big ones here, nice and big. It's very, very smooth. That's what I like about it. Everything's very, very smooth. Very, you know. I think that's why a lot of people like it. I think, you know, I guess more people have a slower PC than have a insane gaming PC, which I don't say I have, but it, you know, it's good enough, and or more than average, which is probably why a lot of people like this more, because it feels very smooth and feels very good to sculpt in. Okay. I have 3070 Ti and I've already gone way higher and still didn't got it. Yeah. Let's do it once more and see. We have 12 minutes. I actually, yeah, we weren't here yet in 12 minutes, so we have quite a lot more time to detail this. Let's see if 0.007871 is too much. Nope, there it is. Perfect. Let's continue. Now we can go into very, very much detail and, you know, add some nice resolution here. Look at that. You can actually create some very, like, these individual hair strands. So I think one very big advantage to remeshing that you don't have with dynamic topology is, I always thought about like, oh, remeshing, doesn't it like kind of remove the structure that you've already sculpted because it kind of reinterprets everything? But the more I see it, the more I think that actually dynamic topology does that more. So what I mean by that is, you can see these individual brush strokes here, these lines here way more, because it doesn't change the geometry. And I think because of dynamic topology, which always kind of remeshes everything while you sculpt, you can more easily sort of during the sculpt or during the brush stroke even lose the structure that you had before, because it realizes, hey, the structures, these faces there are too long, so let's remesh it. And it sort of removes the detail that you had before that way. I don't know if that was understandable at all, but it's kind of hard to explain what I mean. I think dynamic topology because it remeshes the whole time, it kind of removes the geometry that, I mean, the detail that you maybe had before. And it doesn't do that with remeshing, because you only remesh like once, and then you continue working, and then you remesh once, but because you have more like remeshing resolution, it doesn't remove stuff, it only makes it like, it keeps it because the resolution is bigger. Or smaller, I guess you could say. So, like if I now go in here, you can see all these small details already. Like the hair strands here, right there. They all stay here because the geometry doesn't evolve, I guess you could say. You only move it. But with dynamic topology, you move it, and if you move it too much, then it changes, which could remove some detail. So I do think that this one looks cleaner. Okay, let's go down here and kind of do some more down here. Still got a lot of time, yeah. I am actually tempted to do something real quick, hold on. What if I open a new texture? Open a new texture, let me see if I can find it real quick. It's in my resources. I have brushes. Knit, what is knit? Oh. I want to use skin, veins, sprinkles, that's what I wanted. I want to use these ones. So these ones I can now use as a, hopefully as a smooth head, or what? I'm gonna show you what I mean. Not tiled, it should be, I don't want to use it as a texture. Where's the other one? Fall off, cursor. You can only use texture. Isn't there a setting? Wasn't there another setting? Texture, the other one? Texture map or whatever? I don't want to make it tiled. I want to make it 3D. What is 3D? It doesn't even apply it. Well, okay, I'm not going to play around with it. I don't want to waste time. So now I basically go over the smaller surfaces that look very smooth still, and I just kind of add some hair to them, like a structure. Not a stencil. I want the texture to become the brush shape, I guess. What I mean is, all brushes, standard brushes, are basically round. But what I want to have is, if I brush this, it's not supposed to be one line, it's supposed to be 2 lines, for example. That I can create these lines quicker, because I can create 2 at once. I don't know if that works here. I know that it works in Photoshop. I don't know if you can do that in Blender. It would be very cool though. Okay, I want to use the Snake Brush 2 just to kind of create some more detailed hairs here. There you go. One thing I still need to do is join the two meshes together again, the horn and the rest. I don't want to do that right now though. There you go. Looking pretty cute. Death row inmates should be pardoned and made to returbo ears. Ears can be quite annoying, I agree. I actually thought about maybe it's better to start with retopologizing the ears before you retopologize the rest of the face, because ears seem to be like the origin of everything evil when it comes to retopo. It just gives you like, you never end up with the same amount of like, you either have more face like what is it, not phase rows, I completely forgot what it's called. You either end up with more faces or with less. Would you never just enter the ear with them and then you're done with them? You always have more or you have less. So you have to kind of compromise and do some magic. It's so annoying. Okay, I think when it hits 2 minutes, I'm gonna go to the horn and try to join it again. Well, it shouldn't take too long, I guess. Okay. 2 minutes 27, okay. Let's join them back together. Okay. I don't know what this is. Okay. Control J, that should work, right? And then I go into sculpting and press Control R. Should lag for a second and then it should be together again. Or it just destroys my PC, you know? There are two options. And it did it. Nice. Then let's refine the horn and then we're pretty much done. The time is done too. The timer reaches its end. It's crazy how quickly 2 hours can go by. Another good benefit with remeshing is that because you don't change the geometry, we can create very, very sharp edges here. See how sharp they are? It could also just be because we have so much resolution, so that we can create similar results with, you know, a similar amount of resolution with dynamic topology. But it looks very, very clean. Okay. Perfect. Okay. $13. Well, here we are at the end. Let's add a little bit more here and then we're good. 2 seconds and there you go. I did a little bit more. I went overtime on my first one. So I'm gonna spend a few more, maybe 1 minute, just kind of doing a little bit more and then we're good. And we're done. I wonder how it handles projection. I don't want to try it though. Because these hairs wouldn't really work with it that well. Okay, there you go. Okay, there's the second one. Let's apply, or let's add the eyes. Oh, hello. Can I just duplicate them like this? I can't. Well. Oh. Oh, I haven't, what did I not do? I can, I haven't, posed them. Let's pose them real quick. I don't know what I just did, but I did something. Okay, let's pose them real quick. Wow, it's such a clean edge. Haven't seen that in a long time. Okay. We're gonna do the same sort of look to the side and down. There you go. Okay. And then we need the eyes again. Why does it always select the object too? Okay. Okay, one is enough. Let's place it in the head. Okay, there you go. Here we have the second one. Okay, let's compare the two. So, yeah. So here's the, what is it? the Remesh sculpt, one thing that I definitely, I guess, one benefit I would say is that you can go to higher resolutions quicker. You might be able to do that with dynamic topology too, though. I just haven't done it that much. Maybe if I change my workflow to applying with the simplify brush and then removing dynamic topology, maybe you can do it too. So yeah, but hide the overlay. What do you mean? You mean the this stuff? There you go. So yeah, I think we were able to go into higher resolutions very, very quickly, and even, you know, applying higher resolutions to the whole body, I guess, wasn't too difficult. It could maybe, you know, get harder if we go into even higher, or if the model is bigger. But for this one, it works very well. It's not even in what if we set it to smooth? It doesn't even smooth because it's already so high res. There you go. Now it's in smooth. Let's look at the other one. Let me set them up real quick. Okay. So let's look at the first one. So this is the second sculpt, remeshing. Let's look at the first one. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, hold on. There it is. Oh no. They definitely look different. They have different characters, I'd say. This one looks more scared compared to this one. This one looks more confident. It's like in a comic you have, like, for example, in the Jungle Book you have different hyenas and they have different characters. That's what this one is. This one's more scared and a little bit more wary, and this one's more confident or older, you could say. But one thing that you notice if you, what if we make it smooth? So one thing definitely that I noticed is, well, we had way more time. Maybe that could just be because I was used to what I'm sculpting, but we still kind of fiddled around with we fiddled around with the, you know, with how we're gonna work with you know, the remesh option. Both super sexy, but quad wins. I think quad wins. I agree. I think this one looks better. One is having a rough time and is spooked by the leader. The second one is more confident before the lead. No, this one's the old one, so he has seen some stuff. He doesn't care anymore. Wolf while hunting versus wolf when wife yells. Yeah. Of course, it could also be because I've sculpted this as the second one. I was, you know, I kind of knew more about how I want to shape this, but, you know, they still have their own character, I guess. In smooth, when I look at it in smooth mode, of course, this one has more details because we went to higher resolutions quicker. So maybe, you know, if we went to higher resolutions with this one quicker, we could maybe get something close to this, but this one felt better because it well, because it doesn't have the same system that dynamic topology uses, where it sort of subdivides while brushing, which, you know, tanks the performance a little bit sometimes. One benefit that this one had, though, in the workflow, this one, is, first of all, the horn was way easier to add, the ears were way easier to add, the antlers were way easier to add. So adding new stuff to, like, adding stuff that very veers off the main silhouette of the object, it's way easier to do that and way more intuitive in dynamic topology than in this one. So this one, for example, it's sort of you pull it out, you need to remesh it, you pull it out again, you need to remesh it. Problem is, if you remesh it once, the mask is gone. So you kind of have to work around that, but it's not too hard, or it wasn't too hard for this one. Maybe there are some instances where it gets annoying. Oftentimes, you know, if you do it once, you don't necessarily realize the biggest flaws. You need to do it a few more times. But that's one thing that I think is a little bit easier with dynamic topology. It feels more intuitive. But I think this one looks better. Yeah. Have a great one. I'm out. Okay, I'll see you later. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for joining. Thank you for chatting. What is GN Damney? Oh, okay, now I get it. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I think the end result, this one wins. The remesh. The workflow feeling, I think still dynamic topology feels better. I would be curious to see if we could get to something like this in roughly the same amount of time, or you know, we could get to this in dynamic topology as well if we go higher quicker. But I was just used to, you know, different workflow, I guess. But we're not going to do that yet or now. What we're going to do now is I want to look at some videos and see how other people do it. So I have a few that I want to check out just to see which ones they use, you know, or which ones they, well, I guess, yeah, which ones they use. First one is flipped normals. They actually uploaded a sculpting stream recently. So let's see if they use, or what they use there. I don't know. I don't think they start from scratch. But we'll see. Hold on. There you go. Let's see.
Alright, we just tried to start the stream. Let's see.
Okay. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. Oh, they use ZBrush. Well, that's that, I guess. But they also have a video about, there it is, how to sculpt in Blender.
And in this video, we will cover the sculpting tools in Blender. We will
Okay.
walk around in. Let's
Blah blah blue blue blah. Let's set it to
so left mouse
2.
sculpt out and control to sculpt in.
Yep. I know how to sculpt. Thank you. Is there like an actual thingy here? Brushes. Dyntopo. There it is. Okay.
So the first one we will check out is Dyntopo. I've enabled wireframe here just so we can see what's actually going on. So the first thing we do is we go.
Can you hear what he's saying?
We can see what happens when we start to sculpt. Now, what happens is that we are reducing the polygon. Let's see what happens if we were to zoom in now. Now you can see the polygon is increasing based on our screen resolution, or rather how close we are. So if you want to add a lot of resolution to one area, let's say you want to add resolution to the ear, you can simply zoom quite far in, and then you can start to sculpt right here. If you want to reduce it, you simply go far away, and now you can start to sculpt here to reduce the polygon. This is really useful because this allows you to have really fine control over the detail of your model. Now you can go to Dyntopo and you can change the detail size here, where if we now were to change this to a lower number, you can see that we have now a higher polygon. The reason why a lower number is a higher polygon is because it's a density between the different vertices. So if you want to go in here and set this to a high number again, now you can see that we're going to be reducing this even more. So we have a few modes here. The ones we are going to be covering is going to be relative detail and brush detail. Relative detail is what we're using currently,
Brush
which
detail.
means that
Okay.
the detail is relative to your proximity of the camera. So if we go close,
Am I missing something? Have I been doing something wrong the whole
if we change
time?
the detailing to brush detailing on the other hand, then you can see our detailing is based on brush size. So now if we make a big brush, we get less details. If we make a brush tiny, we get a lot of details. Which one you use is entirely up to you. One of them isn't better than the other, and it's entirely down to personal preference. I personally prefer sticking to relative detail, but again, entirely up to what you prefer. This is an excellent tool if you want to reduce your polygon in certain areas. Maybe you have a high poly model and you want to reduce that, or you want more resolution in one area. This is a fantastic tool for that. Where Dyntopo also shines is if you are doing a lot of cool concepting. For instance, if we were to use the snake hook brush here, now we can start to add all sorts of crazy stuff to his back. So now we can just start to drag out different shapes like so. We can just go into Dyntopo and just decrease the detail size. Now you can see that we can just drag these things out.
So they seem to use,
Really cool.
what is it called?
Just with a few strokes. So if you want to add some kind of wings here or some crazy scapula,
Relative
like
detail, I
drag
guess.
this out and it will be there right away.
Constant, yeah.
And then we're back, so this doesn't completely kill the compression of the video. So this is a really cool way of working. Now, because now you can just move stuff around, you can very quickly change things around, you can just add new limbs to it, you can add new joints, whatever you want to. Dyntopo allows you to work
Yeah,
crazy fast
I don't know.
to constant.
Relative detail seem like the concept is good, but the problem that I always run into, why I don't use it, is I've used it in the beginning, but the question that I always, or the problem that I always ran into is I don't want to fiddle around with my, like with my size setting the whole time, or my resolution setting. And I want to sometimes look at my sculpt, like if my hand is the sculpt, you know, I want to go close to it and see, okay, I want to add like a fold right there. But then I want to zoom out, look at the fold from afar, like, yo, here's my fold, you know. I want to look at it from afar. But then I want to still be able to sculpt in the same amount of resolution from afar. And you can't really do that in relative detail. You always have to stay that close to the sculpt to add a lot of detail to your sculpt. And that is annoying to me because I want to I don't just want to see the small little fold, I want to see the whole structure around it too, so that I can build everything as a composition rather than, you know, focusing on one thing at a time.
Then we will simply disable Dyntopo as well, and then we will move on to Remesh. Always the last thing as well, Dyntopo can
Okay,
be enabled with
Remesh.
Control D key. So Control and D, and now Dyntopo is enabled or disabled. Then we have Remeshing.
Oh,
Remeshing
Control
is
D.
useful as
Well, that's
It's
a
used in
good,
different ways. So
good
Dyntopo
thing
adds
to
a
know.
quality where we're sculpting. Remeshing will add resolution everywhere. You can access Remeshing by hitting Control R.
If that
Now
still
you see that
works.
this just changes the entire resolution of the model, where in this area now is all nice and unified. This is fantastic if you are concepting as well, and you just want to have an even nice resolution everywhere. Dyntopo tends to give you nice and triangulated topology, while Remeshing will give you nice and proper topology to work with. But as you can see here, if you were to use something like Snake,
Yeah,
you can't
the
just drag it
topology
down
is
into
cleaner with
because you don't have
Remesh,
that
I
resolution.
agree.
And this is where Dyntopo shines, because instead of having to subdivide your model and go into Dyntopo, you can simply Control R, and then it's going to Remesh. It means now you can start adding more things to it, and we can add more shapes to this like so, and then we can Control R again, and then we can simply Remesh it. If you hit Shift R, I can see great. This is really useful. I really enjoy this with Blender, where bigger grid size means bigger polygons. Basically, think about the grid size here as the size of polygons, and smaller grid size means
that's
polygons,
good.
meaning higher resolution meshes. So let's say you want a pretty low res space, you can just set it to something like this, and Control R, and now you can see that the polygon size is approximately the same
Oh,
as
okay,
the
that's actually a good tool.
You can also change settings under Remeshing.
Control
and
D
size
activates or
so
deactivates
my
dynamic
personal
topology.
preference when I'm sculpting is really using Remeshing when I'm doing the concepting phase. I use Dyntopo, but not as much as I use Remeshing. And then the last method of adding polygons we're going to cover is using
Wait,
Remeshing when
so
I'm
he said,
doing the
hold on.
concepting phase. Cool. I will just undo this real quick. So my personal preference when I'm sculpting is really using remeshing when I'm doing the concepting phase. I use Dyntopo, but not as much as I use remeshing.
Okay, so he basically builds the big shapes with the remeshing, and then once he has that, he goes in, well, because he uses dynamic topology with, what is it, with, he uses dynamic topology with the relative detail. He needs to go close. He only really uses it for details.
Next method of adding polygons we're going to be covering is using the multi-resolution modifier.
And then, of course, you have
we can use
multi-resolution.
that when we have a model
Look at this
more
dude.
like this. This is where we have maybe some decent topology. At least we're in a spot where we don't need to.
So if you already have a good
scratch.
resolution or a good mesh,
what is there.
you
Dyntopo
can use that too.
Multi-res are fantastic when it comes to concepting, but they're not very good once your base is already there. So what I'll do now is I'll select my model, then I'll hit Control and Tab.
And that's why multi-resolution, which is why I use multi-resolution for the arcane models, for example, because I have a base mesh, and I'm just gonna basically, I just sort of, I want to, because I already have good topology with the base mesh, all I really need to do is I need to increase the resolution of the base mesh so that I can add more detail into it.
Adding a multi-resolution. Now you can see that we have added another
he now subdivided the mesh, and he
so now if you want to use the draw brush,
can now add more detail to it.
Details here. You see we are non-destructive. So if we want to go up
and you can always switch between different scope levels, which is quite handy.
Model, go down, and you can do it there. And what you can also see here, though, is that we have an independent slider between the render mode, sculpt mode, and the local. The
question is, why would you use, like, I guess it's when it comes to concepting, what he says, when it comes to the big shapes, creating the big shapes, why? I guess it's more preference whether you use Remesh or Dyntopo, because it's, you know, it's it doesn't really take much. Both don't lag with low resolution and concepting like the big shapes, so I guess it's more personal preference.
Which means
what you used to.
If we were to sculpt like so, and then go back into object mode, our sculpting disappears. And that is because we haven't set the viewport to actually respond to the sculpt.
What does he say about working with multiple objects?
But just bear with me here. Let's say we want to sculpt on the head here, and then we will, let's just say we want to use the draw brush on this guy. So we just want to do some sculpting on this guy, and then we want to do some sculpting on the other one. Now, the way you can do this is you can, of course, hit Control and Tab, go into object mode, click on this guy, and then we can go into sculpt mode, and then we can sculpt there. Now that works, but the more intuitive way of doing this is
Control Tab
over here in the outliner, And then you see next to the object we currently have active, you see there is a little
Okay.
tick box here, a little like an eyedropper or something.
Okay.
Then we click on the
Or
dot
you
next to
press
the one we want to sculpt on
Alt Q.
next. So you see that this gets the same. So simply by clicking on
What do facets do? Faces are basically masks, but you can have multiple masks, so you can color code masks. What that does is, if you, for example, go into your sculpt now, and I want to create some masks here. Oh, there's one more thing that I want to try. So what if I go in here, and I want to grab this. Okay, I want to turn this into a mask face set. Can I do that? Oh. Well, that's the opposite of what I wanted, I guess. Can I do the opposite? No? Okay, I guess I have to invert it. So I can make this a face set. I can make the ear a face set. Like this. There you go. And then I can... once I have these, let's do, I don't know, his lower body too. Okay, so now we have different face set. We have neutral, so this one here. We have a green one, we have a blue one, and we have a purple one, pink one, magenta, whatever. They're all basically masks, but they are color-coded. Masks, of course, what they do is they exclude certain parts of the object. Well, I guess they're not really masks, but you can see now if I want to sculpt here, it only really sculpts where it's not black. Oh. If I what is it? Face sets are a little bit different. You can basically color code different parts of your sculpt to, I guess, organize it a little bit better. So if I now, for example, want to sculpt behind this ear, like I want to work right there, it's hard to do that because I need to kind of work from down here or kind of go very close. Or what I can also do is I can now, because I've color coded this ear, I can now press Shift H to hide the ear, and then I can work on, or everything that was marked green off the ear, and then I can work behind the ear. If I don't want to see the horn because I want to work on the cheek, for example, I can press Shift H on this one, and then the horn is gone too. If you press Alt H, you can bring everything back, or if you press H, I think you hide everything that is where your cursor isn't over. So if I hover my cursor over the blue face set, you can see everything gets hidden except for the blue one. If I press Shift H, you can see everything, or only the blue one gets hidden. Another good benefit of using face sets if you go to the pose brush and you set it to the pose brush is somewhat janky if you use the rotation origin topology setting, because it kind of has to find the anchor point for the bone that it creates here. You can see it kind of jumped over to somewhere over here. But if you have your object color coded, you can then set it to from topology to face sets, and then it always latches onto the border of the face set. See how if I move my cursor, it always sticks to the border right there, and I can then just kind of rotate it like this. So this is how I used it for my female base mesh, or for my female sculpt 2 in the time lapse, where I colored all the different limbs in different colors, so that I can, for example, move the arm like this by coloring all of this in one color, and then all of this in a different color. I can move the individual limbs very, very easily. I can change the horn too. See, it always sticks to the same border. That's that's one of the benefits of using face sets. Do you ever use the smooth shading option in dynamic topology? No, I hate smooth shading when I'm sculpting because it hides the geometry, and I like to see the geometry because, especially if I use dynamic topology, if I know the geometry, I can, or if I know where the geometry is or where the vertices are, I can affect them easier. It's kind of hard to, I guess, show you. Oh no, it's. Let me see if I can show it to you. So if I now see here that we have these vertices here, okay? if I would go very close, oh, hello, and I would use my crease brush here in between these vertices, nothing really happens. See how there's no real change happening? Nothing moves. But if I know that this vertex is up here and this one's down here, I can sort of move in between them. Oh, the pinch is off, hold on. 0.5. If I know that they are, like, that there's like a face, there's no vertex that I can affect with my brush, I can sort of move my brush to where I see the geometry. What I can also do is I can move all these vertices manually and kind of, yeah, just kind of, if I know where the vertices are, I can just sort of work a little bit better with them. I can fine-tune them better. So that's why I don't use smooth shading. Face hits are nutty. Yeah, they're pretty nice for some things. You can't use dynamic topology with them. Every time you change the geometry in any way, it removes all the face hits. Okay, how to sculpt a 3D character boss in Blender 2.9. Let's see what he does. Hello. Blocking out the head with simple shapes. Oh, he's blocking it out with the simple shapes. Interesting. Or you just use dynamic topology, grab the sphere in the front and pull down the geometry. But I guess this one also sort of covers the basics of the head shape a little bit. Kind of explains more in depth what the head looks like, I guess. He uses remeshing, I guess. Does he? Maybe. Yeah, I think so. It doesn't look remeshed. Oh, there it is. Now it's remeshed. Okay, and then he... Yeah, okay. Okay. Another remesh user. Let's go to Jan. He doesn't really do that many oh wait, he does. Time lapse, there it is. The head shape is quite wacky. Yeah, it was more like a stylized character. Okay, wait, what does he use? Yeah, he uses dynamic topology. I think I watched his video when I started. He uses smooth shading right from the beginning, because he creates more stylized characters, which, you know, are supposed to look smooth. And if you enable smooth shading, you can more easily see whether it is smooth or not. I think I watched his tutorials when I learned sculpting, and I think I got dynamic topology from him. Yeah. You know, I think you can get used to both, and I think they both have their advantages and disadvantages. They don't really... There isn't necessarily one that is better than the other. It's, I think, more like the... Maybe which one you think is more intuitive, or which one you like more. He uses dynamic topology... Wait. Oh no, he doesn't. At some point he gets rid of it. When? There you get... Why does he remove it now? I wonder. Now he... Okay, now it's on again. Maybe he forgot that it's off. Oh, let me try something. Yeah, so I think that's sort of the end result. The video that I'm gonna make about this will probably be more something like comparing the two and sort of going over the benefits and... Wait, benefits? The positives and negatives of both, so you can make your own decision. I think both can be viable, and you just have to choose one. What I want to try now is something else. Let me go to my... I don't remember which one it is. 348, I think. Oh, I didn't save. Well, I don't know when I saved the last time. Let me just quickly check. Okay. I think it was right before I... Okay. I didn't lose anything. Perfect. So... Okay. Let me try something. So, if I get rid of this, I want to see... if I go in here now and I select the arm... like this. And then I also select a little bit more. So what if I now select all of this? Okay, so I have this selected. What if I now say mask? Wait, is it... Where was it again? Where you can create a new object? Do you have to deactivate? No. Oh, mask slice to new object. And then we have 2. So the benefit of that would be that now you can go in here. You could, for example, say, hey, I want to rotate this arm. Oh, why does it... Okay. Why are these... Oh, they're not. Why are these one object? No, they're not. Why is this one connected to the head? Are they somehow parented? They're parented. Oh, I know why. That's interesting. So, but now what you could do is you could say, well, the arm should go upwards, but that would create a lot of, like a different shape here. So you could also now just... Okay, hold on. Okay, you could now just go in here. You could say we use the 3D cursor as the rotation point. We set the 3D cursor with shift right click. I can't see the cursor for some reason. Oh. There it is. Right here. Then I rotate it. There you go. Looks kind of weird, but that's okay, because now we can go back into sculpting. I think he said shift control. Yeah. Scope mode. And then we can use dynamic topology. Control D, I think. Yeah, there you go. Grab it and sort of merge it into this again. So that would be another way to sort of you know, pose the character, I guess. Why is it so high? Which is maybe a little bit easier to use, because you don't need to sort of, I guess, fix rotation problems. Okay. Maybe like this. There you go. Fix the shoulder. The shoulder should be somewhere over here. I haven't looked at the arm from below that much, so I'm not that used to it. Something like this, maybe. And then we can go back to this one again. Control D. And do the same here. Fix it. And that might be an easier way to do it than using the pose brush and moving it all the way up. So that's what I probably would have done if I knew about it for the Zeri sculpt. Because I think this is easier than having to fix the huge creases that you create using the pose brush. Alt Q is it? Yeah, Alt Q is this basically. The power up animation. Like this. That's Alt Q. It switches the sculpt. And then it would look something like this. There you go. Looks kind of weird. But then, if we have everything in one piece, I guess what we could do then is we could join them both together again. And then we could just, you know, use remeshing once to bring them together again. Why did it not? Oh, there you go. Or detail float fill, of course, I think works too. Remesh. The thing is, it will now reduce the resolution or the detail that we have in the face. So we should probably rather use we should use dynamic topology, because then we can set it to subdivide. So it doesn't reduce the level, it only increases it if it needs to. We select it here. And detail float fill should merge them together. Let's see if that worked. It didn't. So I guess we have to... Wait, did it? No. Okay. So detail float fill doesn't work. So only remeshing works. Okay. Yeah, but that might be a way you could do it too. Which is probably a little bit easier than, you know, moving it with the post brush and then having to kind of fix some super huge crease problems that arise out of the shadows. Okay. Yeah, remeshing works. Remeshing, it reinterprets the mesh, which means that if two meshes are intertwined, it just joins them together. There you go. Where's the oh, there it is. Let me duplicate this so I can put them next to each other. There you go. Perfect. So looking at it from like this wait, oh, I'm dumb. I duplicated it. Oh, I wanted to duplicate it. Hold on. I was about to say, well, they look pretty similar. Okay. Oh, why is it moving? That's interesting. Wait, what? Okay, well, I guess don't move the object then. Okay, there you go. Yeah, this one has more resolution or more detail, definitely. Thank you, Play-Doh makes. I appreciate it. This one's, so we've made an experiment. We've done one with using dynamic topology and one using remeshing. And those are the two results. This one's remeshing, this one's dynamic topology. Let me actually make a quick screenshot here. Hold on. Go. So this one's Remesh. And this one's Dyntopo. Perfect. Okay, let me do a quick screenshot here. Where's my view? There it is. Place it right there. Perfect. Easy. Okay, well, this basically concludes today's topic. I think, you know, both have their, as I said before, both have their advantages, both have their disadvantages, you could say. It depends on, you know, I guess which one you find more intuitive, maybe, which one you like using more. Maybe you like the I guess, the smoothness of remeshing more. Maybe you like the sort of fluid sculpting experience of dynamic topology more. I think at the end of the day, we can all love each other and love our choices and choose whatever we want. I'm in the wrong folder, of course I am. There you go. Yeah, I think this concludes today's stream actually. Tomorrow we're gonna do a Q&A in the beginning of the stream. So I've asked about questions on one of my YouTube posts on my main channel. We're gonna go through them, and you know, if there are any more questions on stream, of course we can go through these too. I wanted to fill the first hour with that, and then I want to go into the personal feedback session. So if you have any more pieces that you want to get personal feedback on, make sure to join the Discord. Make sure to join the Discord, !Discord to join. And then you can post your own pieces and I will give the feedback on them. Pretty early stream without the quick sketches. What do you mean early? You mean it's done early? Well, this topic was fairly quick. You know, I could also say, well, we're gonna sculpt each one of these in 1.5 hours. Then we would probably end the stream maybe in, I don't know, 30 minutes or, you know, 10 minutes or a little bit more time, you know. Yeah, I think now, you know, it's just a good time to end it. Doesn't mean just because it don't be to have, well, the difference is not that we have, that the stream is shorter, it's just that we have more time to do the topic, which of course can result in, I guess, being done with the topic quicker. We're not really quicker. I mean, you know, we're around the same time, okay? Don't flame me here. Yeah, but yeah, tomorrow we're gonna go into Q&A and personal feedback session. So make sure to join if you haven't yet. Yeah, feel free to use whatever you like, dynamic topology or remeshing. And yeah, thank you for joining, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, chatting, or just being here. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Maybe I'll see you next time. Until then, take care.